Various adventure modules are shown here. Some game masters do not like to use adventure modules. Some do. Why or why not? These questions are explored in this episode of
Dungeons and Coffee! Greetings.
And good morning. I'm going to talk about adventure modules. I've noticed recently in talking with at least my social circle, new players and even experienced DMs of many years, most people, it seems, do not prefer adventure modules. That's okay, it's a matter of taste. But I wanted to make this video as a way to show some of the new players, perhaps, just what adventure modules can be very useful for. And this information goes true for experienced players and new players. I've got a few here to show, and I have these in a particular order, which I'll get into that in a second. But just a quick run through. You open a classic. Here's a classic from 1980, a tournament module. And typically, you're going to get maps, some player handouts. This is Shrine of Tomoe-chan, or Tomoe-kan. And an adventure module does a couple things. They start with telling you how to incorporate the story into your campaign or as a standalone adventure. They will typically cover certain areas. For instance, here we have Area E, which will be on the map. And there's a little word bubble. And these word bubbles you typically read aloud to the players, or at least use these as a reference. But this will specify what's in those areas. So it spells out what happens as the players go through. Toward the end, it usually explains how to sum the adventure up, or what happens as a result of the players surviving, whether that means experience points, magic items, what have you. But that's just a classic example there of an adventure module. And all adventure modules pretty much do the same 5 things.
The 5 things are both listed and explained here. Number 1. Provide easy reference for the GM. Why use the adventure module if it's not going to make things easier for the game master? 2. Provide visual aids for both the players and the game master. 3. Any good adventure module should contain plot or story options that can be fit into an existing campaign or be a standalone storyline. 4. Contain memorable content. An adventure that people will remember for years to come is always a good one. And number 5. An adventure module should require problem solving and roleplay for successful completion.
And concerning these 5 things, some modules do them better than others. I have these modules that I'm about to show you. There's 5. I have them placed in order of preference. Now this is in accordance to my taste, and my taste only. But I feel that in this order, these particular game systems do a better or not as good a job as some others in doing those 5 things that I just explained. And so, here we go. We have the Shrine of Tomoe-chan, or Tomoe-kan. This is, of course, old school D&D. We have Dungeon Crawl Classics here, and they do, I feel, a really good job of keeping the old school flavor. You can see a lot of highlighting I've done here. I've played this one a few times. Area B1, Area C. Really good job of sticking to the old school flavor, which I feel it does a great job of keeping things simple. And to me, that goes a long way when I'm using an adventure module. Pathfinder. Pathfinder is one of the newer companies that I feel do a really good job of the 5 things. And that's just a quick reference there. As you can see, more highlighting. You always want to read ahead just so you kind of aren't too surprised if something happens that you don't plan on. Castles and Crusades, very good company. They do a lot of different adventures for their game system. Their game system is very similar to 5e. I love the system, D&D 5e. And you open it right up and they tell you the challenge level, which every adventure should do that somewhere. And as you can see, the format is very similar in all companies. Some just do a little better job of making it more noticeable. The word bubbles that we talked about. And then everything else is a background story for the DM and not necessarily the players. So most of you know that. Last, but not least, at least completely, is the Dungeons & Dragons 5e. The reason I chose this one last is because not real user-friendly, in my opinion. I don't like the hardback. I like the softback options of the other companies, because when you're running a game, you know, you like to be able to lay them out and have easy reference, ease of use, and I don't find that the case with the hardback. Also, I don't like the high price point of a hardback. An adventure like this will cost you about $7-8, maybe about, I'm not sure, 12 to 19 maybe for the really thick Pathfinder. Probably about $9. And of course you can, these are out of print, but you can find them on eBay, fairly affordable from a lot of different sellers. But I don't like the hardback format. And if you look through, they do stick to the classic formula. You know, you have the word bubbles. You have all the information there for the DMs. And it's similar format, but it just doesn't seem very user-friendly to me. Because everything is a lot more jumbled together in the way that they do the 5e material. I love the D&D 5e system. I love it, but I do not like their source material. I do not like their books, the way they package the books and the format. I just find it awkward and bulky and just not user-friendly. One last thing about running adventure modules. I highly recommend them, especially for new players. New DMs specifically. If you're a new DM, running an adventure module will really give you some insight into how things should flow, what sort of things to keep in mind. It's just a great way to start. For instance, you know, when you open a typical module, you're going to have your maps already. It's going to spell out some options as to how to incorporate that into your existing campaign or how to use it as a standalone. So you can actually use these as a great stepping stone or a springboard into a campaign if you've never run one before. So start with an adventure module. That's my advice to new players, new DMs. And that's pretty much all I have. Once you run an adventure module or two and you're a new DM, you'll really understand how things are supposed to flow. And you'll really have a good grasp on things from that point. Thanks for watching. And remember, keep your books off the table and keep reaching for the dice. Keep your books off the table and keep reaching for the dice, Pilgrim. Not you, Tenderfoot. You don't get any dice.